It's time for another episode of The Oil Stream with Dustin Nielsen and Tom Gazzola, presented by Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen.
This is The Oil Stream, brought to you live from the Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen studio. Popeye's, they're excited to bring back the Ghost Pepper sandwich for a limited time. Has a spice kick of ghost pepper mayo spread on a buttery brioche bun with juicy chicken breast and 2 crunchy pickles for $9.99 until November 11th. Matt Iwanyk and Tom Gazzola with you here on The Oil Stream as it is game day. The Edmonton Oilers taking on the Seattle Kraken. You could just walk in front of the camera. I do it all the time, Trev. I usually am there doing all the buttons and stuff, but Dusty's off to Grey Cup, so I need someone else to do it for us today, and Trev doing that there. And Tommy, how are you today? I got to make sure your mug's on. I think you're good. Oh. I'm not hearing you, Tommy. No, your mic's not going. That's, I think, on you. Oh, I'm hearing a lot of feedback.
How about now?
Oh, there we go. That sounds lovely.
Oh, boy.
We get your wonderful voice
Hello.
right there.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm just dealing with the most annoying dog in the world right now.
What's with you and Penny? Why? Like, it seems like you're always having issues with Penny. She can't be that. How much is this actually on you?
None. Zero. She, can't leave me alone. You go, you give her a treat, you give her food, and then she comes to you when you're trying to quickly have something to eat, and she's pawing at your back, You try to keep her away, or you do stuff around your home, and she's staring at you, and she starts crying. You're like, what? I just took you for a walk. I love the dog to death, but she is annoying. Today is a day for her. Today is a day. She was great the last 2. Today she's having a day.
She just wants more Tommy time, like we all do. She just wants you to have you around her even more. Like, think about it. If you're her, you weren't around all last week. And now this week you're around a little bit more. So she just wants she's enjoying every second she can to be around Tom Gazzola. What's wrong with that?
That's beautiful, Matt. And I want to believe it, but I don't. I just think she's craving attention because she does this to my parents. She does this to my brother. And it's nothing new. So I'm just the one dealing with it right now. Yesterday was glorious. She had a great day. She made so many new friends. She chased bigger dogs in the dog park. And then this morning she woke up and she was in some kind of mood. She is sassy as hell right now. So, yeah.
Surveyor Brett saying Penny versus Tommy is a battle for the ages. And I'm sure you're aware that you're not going to win the public opinion battle of this one, right?
Oh, I've lost it already.
Okay,
I know.
You never win against a dog, straight up.
No, and she is adorable. Don't get me wrong. And you look at her and you're like, oh my God, you cute little thing. But she uses it to her advantage. She is smart. She knows how to work it. And I'm the one dealing with it right now. I cater to her so much. Whatever she wants, she gets. But it's just never enough, it seems like.
I got to get into this one quickly in the nasty chat. Justin of Balgoni saying, Matty looks like a scrub besides handsome Tom Gazzola. 1, true. 2, the only reason he's coming at me is I came after everyone in Dusty's CFL Fantasy Football League today on the Hangout because they drafted absolutely terribly and allowed Dusty to have this great team for Dusty to be able to go, I'm this great drafter when they're terrible drafters. So he's coming at me for that one. So deal with it, Justin. Draft better next year. Just draft better. It's that simple.
Hey, I got a text from my brother too, because he's watching. What's up, Paulie? He says, throw Penny a toy when she's being a pest, man. LOL. I have. She has all the toys. She just got a treat. And she still wants more. And my brother knows how it goes with her. So,
well, I'll say this.
Yeah.
Paulie, maybe you take Penny then if you have such great ideas.
He gets her back tomorrow.
Does he?
Which is great. I love having her.
How long have you had her then? Is it a week? Was it all of last week?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I've had her for
a week and a half.
Yeah. And I think my parents they're settled into their new place, and eventually they'll have her back with them. But it's gonna be a little bit longer. But hey, I'm giving her everything she wants and then some, and it's just like, I want more. Give me some of what you're eating. Give me that. I want that. I'm gonna cry and just stare at you. Let's talk about hockey.
Let's do it. Let's just quickly update people on what happened with the Oilers today as they made some moves. The Oilers have recalled from Bakersfield Philip Broberg, Adam Ernie, Raphael Lavoie, who was loaned to Bakersfield just yesterday. And then they've placed on LTIR Matthias Janmark and Dylan Holloway. You were at the morning skate today as the Oilers are getting set to take on the Kraken. What's your biggest takeaways from the skate today?
Well, they ended up turning it into an optional, which throws a wrench into plans. So I think like last week and the last couple of weeks when Jay Woodcroft was still at the helm and practices that were supposed to be mandated morning skates ended up being optionals. Woodcroft was getting some heat for that. This one became an optional. It was supposed to be a mandated morning skate, and it was an optional. And most of the defense was out there, and then Connor Brown was out there, Raphael Lavoie, James Hamblin, Adam Ernie was out there. So, the top 6 guys, top 9 even, well, Fogle was out there. They didn't take part in it. So it was business as usual. The vibe in the room was good. They moved all the defense together inside the locker room. That was interesting. But at the same time, Rashog and others asked about the strategy behind that. And Chris Knobloch talked about communication, the defense all sit together. I will note Darnell Nurse and Matthias Ekholm did not have to move their spots. So I think CC stayed in the same spot too. It ended up being Kulak, Desharnais, and Bouchard, who slid over to the other side of the room. And then Broberg, they brought back in and they slid him a little bit further down. And the guys were cracking jokes and they seemed to be good about it. So that was interesting. And we're going to see Stuart Skinner start again. And it honestly feels like Chris Knobloch's just getting his feet under him because he got, helicoptered in here they flew him in here pretty quickly. He's trying to get everything sorted out. He's trying to implement a couple of little wrinkles. He was talking about neutral zone stuff, a little bit of D zone stuff. So it's been an interesting few days. And, they had a couple of meetings, penalty kill meeting, power play meeting prior to the ice being available to them and them having the morning optional skate. So lots of movement, lots happening all in a short, condensed period of time. But they've won their last couple of games, Matty. So let's see if they can keep that rolling against a Kraken team that's kind of reeling since they played the Oilers.
It feels like with it being the Kraken tonight, too, that this is one of those games where, for fans-wise, there's going to be a little extra pressure, I think, on this new coaching staff. Because if you lose to the Kraken, when that was the last game Jay Woodcroft played or coached, and they got the win, there's going to be a little extra anger, I think. Not at Chris Knobloch, not at Paul Coffey necessarily, but at the change that why didn't you beat this team that Jay Woodcroft just beat a couple days ago? Like, everyone's good right now. People are pretty happy after the win against the Islanders, but it's usually what have you done for me lately type thing. And having it be the Kraken this soon, like I just feel like for the fan base, this team's going to really need that win tonight. Otherwise, the narrative being you couldn't beat the team you beat 2 games ago with the old coach. What's going on here?
Yeah. I don't know how much I believe that. I understand that sentiment, though. And the Oilers played a pretty thorough game against the Kraken in Seattle the other night. Yeah, maybe that pops up a little bit. And that sentiment of you did Jay dirty a little bit. I understand that. How do I feel about the Oilers going into the Kraken, though? I think that they should feel good. I think, they've done some good. They won a different type of game on Monday, and that was good. They had to be patient in the second period. They didn't just take the game early like they did against Seattle the other night, scoring a bunch of greasy goals on Saturday. On Monday, it was a little bit more methodical, and then they were able to chip away at the Islanders in the third period after a very boring second period. So it seems like these 2 wins, although, pretty different, have put the Oilers in a good mindset. Again, I'll reiterate, there was jokes being cracked, some smiles, so some positive vibes around there. And then you get a fresh voice or a couple of fresh voices. So I like their chances tonight. The pressure to beat Seattle, I think the pressure is going to be there until this team gets back to 500 and then surpasses 500 if it can. I think it's capable of doing so. They're going to need to win tonight because, was it Friday, Saturday against
Saturday's
Tampa.
their next game.
Yeah, so they're going to fly out tomorrow to get to Florida early. And then Saturday, they play the afternoon game. That's going to be a tough game. And then you go into Florida to play the Panthers on Monday. That's going to be a tough game. And then you got another tough game. Like you get Carolina. Maybe Washington's the easy one, if you want to call it easy at this point.
Well, we had Hernan Salas on the Hangout today, and he brought up the point that, like, at least recently, the Oilers have had decent success actually going out to Florida, but Carolina, Washington, not as much.
Yeah.
I look at this road trip coming up and go, this is really, like, to me, the season-defining road trip of, is this coaching change going to change this team or not? Because you go and grab one out of the next 4 on that trip. I'm taking this game, putting it aside. Let's just put the 2 points in the Oilers column just for argument's sake here. You take one of those 4, I don't think this team's coming back at this point. I think they are what they are for this season, and that's what we've seen all season. They go manage, 5-6 points out of 8 maybe. Then maybe it's the start of turning around because, one, just going on the road is always difficult. Going out east is always difficult, and those are good hockey teams. Right now, 3 of those 4 teams are sitting in a playoff spot, and the Lightning are the one team that's out, but they're tied with Pittsburgh for that last spot in the wild card. They just have played a couple of extra games. So this isn't going to be easy by any stretch, but am I wrong in thinking this is kind of a season-defining road trip that they're about to embark on?
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. I don't think you're wrong. As long as if they can win 3 on that road trip, great. They could do some heavy lifting and put themselves back into the mix, especially if they win tonight. So it won't make or break the season, but it would go a long way in building confidence, getting Chris Knobloch comfortable behind the bench, Paul Coffey to a certain extent, I suppose, and getting some good juju going because there hasn't been a ton of good juju for this team, for a lack of a better term. So team bonding maybe a little bit out east too. There's days between games where they might be able to get away and get to know each other a little bit better. And maybe, I don't know if the new members of the coaching staff want to kind of take the guys out for lunch or hang out with them a little bit just to start to build a rapport. That could go a long way. And there's, the players trying to make sure they start off with they've got a clean slate right now, and they start this relationship off on the right foot. And so that takes communication, and that takes giving solid efforts night in, night out, all those cliches. And this is going to provide an opportunity for that. And if it results in points on the board, then it can, realign the season and set it back into motion the way it's supposed to, and get this team back into the mix. Because with a win tonight, they're 2 points back of Seattle. Seattle is still, I think, 3 points back of a wild card spot or back of Arizona. And but a couple wins here can put you right back into the mix and quiet some of the noise that's been surrounding this team, because there's been an abundance of it lately.
Yeah, the Oilers, 9 points. The Kraken are at 13. So as you're right, 2 points back. The Kraken dead on 14 points, or 4 points behind the Blues for that last wild card spot. The Blues only have played 14 games so far this season. While the Kraken, they're at 16. So the Oilers also still have 2 games in hand on the Kraken. But they got to start making their way up a little bit here, actually. I just want to go to goaltending here quickly. Stuart Skinner getting the start in net once again tonight. Rightfully so. He's been playing really good. His last 2 games were outstanding. Do you just keep riding him, or do they need to find time to just maybe play Calvin Pickard, or is that just you play Pickard when you think Stuart Skinner's a little tired, got to get him a little bit of rest?
Yeah.
How do you think this plays out?
Yeah, and this came up yesterday with Knobloch at the practice, and he just straight up, it sounded like his answer sounded to me like this is not a issue he has tackled just yet. It's on the docket of the many things that he has to get to, but it hasn't quite happened just yet. And what he said was he has to consult with Dustin Schwartz.
That's going to make Oiler fans happy.
Yeah, and just again,
he's the coach. You got to ask him. He's the goalie coach. I get that, but I just when you hear that right now, with where this fan base is with Dustin Schwartz, I'm sure there's a lot of eye rolls at that very moment you said that. Sorry.
And just for those who didn't catch it yet, Dustin Schwartz is not married to Cates' family. Like, stop it with this stuff, okay? it's ridiculous how this stuff spreads like wildfire, and it does affect people, especially when you're talking about their family like that. So, yeah, he's going to consult. He said it. He's going to consult with Dustin Schwartz. I don't think that there is a big push to get Calvin Pickard in there right away. Like, honestly, Matt, I look at that game on the 24th in Washington, depending on how the Oilers are doing in the first 3 games of that road trip, that might dictate if they go to Calvin Pickard in the afternoon of that Washington game. I think you want to go with Stuart Skinner against Tampa, especially if he continues to play well like he has. I thought he was great. He had an excellent sequence in the third period where he made 3 consecutive stops, got a whistle, and then off the faceoff, there was another big save that he made for 4 really big stops at a crucial moment in the game against the Islanders. So that was a good sign. And then he had a good night against the Kraken last Saturday. So I think they just want him to ride it out and build up his confidence. So let's see how it goes tonight. If he has another good outing, then I'm sure we're seeing him against Tampa. I'm guessing we're probably going to see him against Florida on Monday, maybe even again on Wednesday against Carolina. And then you look at that game against the Caps and you go, can we get Calvin Pickard in there? That might be the one as of today that I would target and say, yeah, Pickard probably plays on the 24th, because you've got multiple days between games right now, between the Seattle and Tampa game. You've got a day between games between Tampa and Florida. Same thing for when they play Carolina, and then same thing when they get to Washington. And that travel from Tampa to the Miami area isn't hard. It's a quick, like 40-minute flight. And then from Miami to Carolina, I think, is like an hour. And then from Carolina to Washington is like an hour. These are quick flights, so the travel should be relatively light and not burden this group. So I think in terms of rest and Skinner being able to go in the next 4, I think it's doable.
Here's the one thing, though, that I think the Oilers are going to have to deal with that I don't think they were expecting fully here with is, like, one, you need to get Skinner some rest here. He can't be playing every game, because we saw when he started playing too much last year what happened come playoff time. So if this team does make the playoffs, you can't have a tired Stuart Skinner here. I think now Calvin Pickard's a guy you might have to rely on, though, with how Campbell's performing right now in Bakersfield. And or she said lack of performance. Like with him having another poor game last night based on the stat line. Like I didn't watch the game. I'm not going to lie and pretend like I did or anything like that. Right. So I don't know how the full game played out for him, but when you see the amount of goals that he's been letting in down in Bakersfield, that doesn't scream like a lot of confidence that this team's going to want to bring him up anytime soon to have him on the bench in the NHL. That you're going to need Calvin Pickard for a bit, because it can't be Stuart Skinner the rest of this season. You can't be relying on him. So at some point, you actually do have to get Pickard, I think, in for some games, because you got to build him up a little bit and get him back to playing in the NHL. I know he's got the experience in the past, but it's been a bit. So you're going to need to get him into games, because right now, kind of, he's the backup of this team, like, for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, and Matty, but this is why I tend to think that they'll probably ride Skinner in the short term right now. And yes, you're right. They are going to have to get him rest. And if Jack Campbell continues to struggle the way he has with the Bakersfield Condors, no, you're not going to bring him up. I think if they want to get back into the mix, they want to go with their number 1, and that's clearly Stuart Skinner. So give him a run here. And yes, you want to factor in the fatigue and all of that. You spell him off for a game, give Pickard a game against Washington, depending on how things are going. Like, it depends how these next few games go, what kind of performances we're getting from Stuart Skinner and witnessing. And I'm sure they're going to check in on him on a daily basis, like they tend to do, and see where he's at and gauge his level of energy. And I'm sure Skinner will say, I'll play every game for you guys. That's just his nature, and that's what players do. But that's also why Pickard, going back to the 2023-24 Oil Stream rankings of importance, received honorable mention from yours truly.
Yeah, he did. Do you remember where he had Skinner and Campbell? They were top 10, obviously. It was like 6 and 8 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I think I still have it on my computer.
No,
I'll take a look.
I don't think anyone fully expected, at least this early in the season, would be looking at that honorable mention and going, hey, Tommy got it. Tommy got that one, but here we are.
I don't even want to be right with stuff like that.
Portions of this hour are brought to you by Boston Pizza. Watch the Edmonton Oilers at Boston Pizza. $5 off medium pizzas, $1 off tankers of Canadian and Coors Light, and $5.50 shots of Fireball, Jaeger, Burt Reynolds, Purple Rain, and Honey Jack. The plan is right now, if I'm not mistaken, I think next week, to have you with the Oil Stream pre- and post-game show on the road at a BP's. I don't know if Dusty's has mentioned that out there. Has he talked to you about that?
The BP's on the 22nd?
Yeah.
Yeah, he has.
Oh, we're good with that? We could say that exactly on air, I think. Well, I've kind of gone there. We're going to Kingsway Boston Pizza Tuesday, the 22nd. Tommy will be there with the Oil Stream pregame and postgame show as the Oilers. That's Florida. The Oilers will be taking on Florida. An earlier game, that's a 5 o'clock game. So your pregame that day will be about 3:30 start time. But you'll be there for the game and then postgame. But you can watch all Oiler games at a Boston Pizza near you. Matt Iwanyk, Tom Gazzola with you here on the Oil Stream. Those watching on YouTube, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Let's bring those numbers up a bit. And if you haven't subscribed to Edmonton Sports Talk yet, give us a sub as well. We're closing in on 6,000. Only it looks like just under 250 away from getting to 6,000. We started this month at 6,000 or at 5,000. So because we've kind of been growing quite nicely there. So let's see if we can get to 6. But yeah, give us a like, give us a sub if you can. Tommy, outside of the post-game show, you haven't been on the air here at Edmonton Sports Talk following the game against the Islanders. Just your take and your thoughts from the first game of this team under their new coach, Chris Knobloch, and what you saw.
Yeah. Overall, I thought they played a good game. I thought they really did play a good game, and calm, cool, collected, composed. They didn't get rattled. They didn't give up a ton. I thought they were responsible. I thought that they built up some good, relatively small momentum on Saturday in Seattle, and I think they continued on, like the confidence in sticking with the game plan, not getting too out of sorts, and they remained composed when that game against the Islanders wasn't going too far in their favor or too far in the Islanders' favor, staying in the moment type of thing, and then waiting for their opportunities, creating their opportunities, working for their power play chances, taking advantage of them. They got some luck. Certainly the McDavid goal was not pretty, but it counts, man. So a lot of things ended up going right for them. And I think that that was a product of sticking with the game plan and not getting too antsy and overhyped or trying to do too much. And then by overdoing it, creating a problem in your own zone. They didn't put themselves into those types of situations really. And then whenever the Islanders did get a chance to press, the Oilers had Stuart Skinner there to make a good save. And I thought they didn't give up a ton defensively. I thought they broke out of their zone relatively clean. It was overall a pretty good night. That goal that the Islanders scored in the first minute, good pinch by the Islanders D. And then a couple of passes and a one-timer that blew by Stuart Skinner. I'm not putting that on him. I'm not, sometimes the other teams make good plays.
That one's on Leon to me, actually, because
on the pinch.
No, well, he right at like 20 seconds of that game or whatever it was, he had a shot in the slot that he passed up looking for a pass, and it caused the turnover. The Islanders went the other way. And that led to then the face-off, which led to the goal. He should have had that shot on the net. So, slightly before.
Maddie, that's harsh. You're being harsh on them.
Right on. That was right to start the game, and he's passing up a shot right in the slot to open the game.
Wow.
And he turns
made
it
up for
it. Well, he did afterwards. I won't get to that right away here. I'll give him their credit. But in that goal, it was, you have this coaching change. Things aren't going well. You're Leon Draisaitl. Instead of taking that shot in a prime spot, you turn the puck over. And it went the other way, and a face-off later went in the back of your net because the puck was in your own zone. That's kind of where I had some criticism of Leon for that. But I will credit the Oilers for that, because how many of us, when that goal went in, went, oh, boy, nothing's changed here with this team. And that could really cripple a team at that point who we've seen with this team, when things don't go well this season, they completely collapse. Look at the Vancouver game where they were up 19-2 in shots or whatever it was, 1-0. let the one goal in, and we all know what happened after that.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have that happen to them against the Islanders. So,
No.
like, credit to them for having that rough start to the game, but not allowing it to destroy the rest of that hockey game. That they recovered from that, and they found a way to get that win. And that third period looked like Connor and Leon, at least for the time being, they're back. So there's my credit to the team.
Oh, very nice. Well, Leon scored a nice goal, 13 minutes after that missed shot, missed pass opportunity. So, and he was hustling. He was hustling the other night, and that's good to see. And there was a shift in Seattle too, where he was back checking his butt off. That's what you need, like the sacrifice and the willingness to go to the dirty areas. All those cliches too. They really weren't doing it earlier in the year. And the last couple of games, at least, it seems like they've gotten the message and realized that this thing was slipping away and that they have to actually bust their butt collectively to get results. And let's see if it continues tonight.
VR Montenegro, whose wife came by last week, and Ginger.
Very
such
nice,
a nice lady. Very nice. He disagrees with me, going, "That's a bit of a stretch, Matt." But I'm sorry, in that moment, watch what happened on that game started. He should have took that shot. Instead, he turns it over. It wasn't even a good pass. He turned it over, went the other way, straight up.
And Matty, I mean, to your point, like I'm not going to push that.
No.
But to your point, they have passed up.
They're doing that. They've done that too much.
So many shooting lanes this year, and these guys can fire that thing so well. They pound the pill on net. When you watch them in practice and in warm-up, you're like, boy, a guy that you would think doesn't have a good shot has an amazing shot. And those sticks, the technology now, and just looking off great shooting opportunities from up top, it's so easy to be like, oh, he should have shot that. Oh, and I know the game is so much faster down there, but these guys have such good instincts offensively for the most part. They should shoot it. And when you get shots on net, usually if the first shot doesn't go in, it creates havoc unless the goalie eats it up. And we've seen in the last couple games that you get something around the net and you create rebounds and you can bang home the garbage, and those goals count too. And you know what? They might not be as pretty. They might not get you on the highlight reel, but they're points. They lead to wins, and they all count.
Calvin C. in the nasty chat. You could also text us 780-218-9999, Paris Jewelers inbox. That's the first time I've seen a player cross-check someone to the back of the leg. LOL. I wonder if he just cross-checked the ribs, if anything would have happened. That's in reference to Leon Draisaitl on, is it Bo Horvat? Was that on Bo Horvat?
Yeah, because Horvat kind of tied him up.
But there was a little bit of a slew foot prior.
Yes.
Leon Draisaitl did get fined yesterday, the maximum amount allowed by the CBA, which was $5,000. I know fans across hockey are upset with Leon Draisaitl right now. I will say this, if that happened to an Oiler, people would be upset, so I do understand what everyone else is thinking outside of the city of Edmonton, but also I like having those players on a team every so often that are willing to do that. I like having those players that are a little nasty and that are going to do things you don't want to fully cross the line, but that's who Leon is. He's that type of player. I don't know the best adjective I'm looking for because he's not a cheap shot artist or anything like that. I don't want to go there, but this is kind of who he is, and to a degree, I'm okay with it because you need to, it's going to. Other teams are going to look at the Edmonton Oilers and, I can't do those type of things to this team, or especially Leon Draisaitl. Otherwise, I might have to deal with something too.
Okay, let's just start with the cross-check to the back of the legs. It was stupid.
Yep.
That you don't do that. And was it VR Montenegro saying, or was it Calvin that said he's never seen a cross-check to the back of the legs? Yeah, it was dumb. That's a cheap shot too. It really is. And I know it was in retaliation for a cheap shot. I understand that. In a perfect world, I think, maybe people will agree with me. Maybe they'll disagree with me. I would prefer to see Leon Draisaitl, who is just as big as Bo Horvat, take Bo Horvat and slam him against the boards and then get in his face. They don't have to drop the gloves. These guys barely fight anymore in the National Hockey League. Even the fighters barely fight. Just get in his face, tell him to F off, tell him he's a cheap shot artist, and give him a face wash, And that to me would have been the better route to send the message instead of cross-checking a guy intentionally in the back of the legs, which I agree with Calvin is odd. I looked at it, I'm like, that was dumb. And I watched it again on the replay. I'm like, oh, that was really dumb. Why did he do that? Oh, okay, because he got kind of slew-footed by Horvat. I understand. Just grab him, slam him into the wall, tell him to F off, and then he's a you know what, and give him a face wash, and he gets the message. You don't get a $5,000 fine. It's a drop in the cap for the guys in the NHL, certainly. But the most important thing is you don't put your team down a man. But if I remember correctly, the Islanders quickly took a penalty on that power play right after.
It was like the face-off.
Yeah, it was like an interference or something like that. But, hockey's changed. The newer generations of guys don't grow up mixing it up like that. European hockey's different than North American hockey. But Leon Draisaitl is a big boy. He's tough enough. Bo Horvat's not going to beat him up. They're not going to drop their gloves. There's ways to send a message. That wasn't the best way to do it. Let's just put it that way.
The one thing you'd have to be worried about maybe also, too, is if you pick up enough of these fines, the league might then start looking at game suspensions.
Good point.
That's the only thing. You don't want to add those into your, file. You don't want to put that in a quote-unquote permanent record like we all had in school or something. You don't want, did this fine, then they finally go, this guy, okay, we got to send some sort of message here, and you lose a game. Because you don't want to lose. If you're the Edmonton Oilers, if you're Leon Draisaitl, you don't want to be out for a game. And that's the one thing I guess I would say for him and his nastiness and stuff. That would be the thing you got to watch out for. Because now, look, fans don't dictate anything. But that was a thing that I saw a lot of comments from fans. This guy will never learn, got to suspend him. And there will be those calls eventually that just will grow more and more and more if you keep doing things like this. So that'd be the thing I would look at. The Edmonton Oilers taking on the Seattle Kraken tonight and down at Rogers Place. Tom Gazzola with the Oil Stream pregame show, getting you set for that game at 5 o'clock right here on Edmonton Sports Talk, edmontonsportstalk.com for those listening on TuneIn, as well as right here on the Edmonton Sports Talk YouTube channel. I know you'll be speaking to someone from Seattle. Who do you have today?
Mike Benton. He is the host of the Kraken pre- and post-game show on the radio. So very similar job to mine.
Did you guys have Everett Fitzhugh on Saturday?
Yeah, we had Everett on the other day. I saw Everett this morning.
Did you?
At the rink, yeah, good to see him. I'll catch up with him in the press box tonight. He's a great guy, and big thank you to him for hopping on.
Have I ever told you the story about him with us and how much he listened to us and stuff?
He's told me that he was like a big 1260 guy.
So when he first got the job with the Kraken, J-Mo was like, I would love to speak to this guy because, first black play-by-play guy in hockey. We're like, yeah, this is a great story from Detroit, all that. Like, hey, let's. So I emailed him. And I got an email back from him saying, yeah, I'd love to come on. And, oh, by the way, I'm fanboying right now because I love you and the station and everyone at that station. I'm like, who the hell fanboys over me? But
he was in Cincinnati, wasn't he?
He was, I don't think he was somewhere around there, but he still listened to us because he's an Oiler fan. I'm sure he still loves the Edmonton Oilers to a degree. But he was an Oiler fan. Well, I'm guessing the Kraken are his number one team right now, but
they pay him.
Absolutely. So, but he grew up as an Oiler fan and stuff, and he talked about it on when we had him on. Part of why he was an Oiler fan was at the time they had a lot of black players in hockey. I think when he was around, that would have been Sean Brown. Joaquin. George Larocque, Anson Carter. Like, it was around that time.
Yeah.
And so, he naturally became an Oiler fan. Mike Greer. Oh, how would I forget? I loved Mike Greer. He was like one of my favorite Oilers. When he got traded to Caps, was it? I was devastated.
Yeah. He's a good Oiler.
But it was like he fanboyed over us. And I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. So, but that was also around COVID and stuff. So, one time we should just all take him out for dinner if they're here in town early enough.
They're back later this year.
Oh, maybe I have to plan that. I'll have to introduce
I'll take a look right now when they're back. He's a great guy.
Awesome
honestly.
Dude. And a good call. A really good call as well. By the way, portions of this hour brought to you by One Putt. We're hosting a 4-man cash scramble tournament starting today, through December 15th. They use the TrackMan technology. It's only $400 per team. It includes 9 hours of golf, which is 4.5 hours per round, and your team can play at any day and time that does fit your schedule. One Putt is also guaranteeing a $1,000 prize pool regardless of the number of people who enter. More info, oneputt.ca/scramble, or follow them at OnePuttYag on Instagram. Also, you could just go to One Putt if you'd like to just golf. If you're looking to just swing the clubs out there, you want to have some, make sure the rust doesn't really pile on throughout the winter, head to One Putt. Like I said, oneputt.ca for more information on where they are. And there's also, Tommy likes to always mention, they got the arcade games as well. So you could play some
free arcade games.
Free arcade games. So
no quarter munchers like in the old days where you'd play like Ninja Turtles or Simpsons, and you'd have to. It was a quarter muncher. Like as hard as like you tried to not get killed, those games were impossible because they needed to eat your quarters. So you get to play them with as many credits as you want over at One Putt. Brilliant move.
Where did you go for your arcades games when you were a kid? Like, were you at West Ed or whatever? Or?
No, Londonderry Mall.
Did they had
an arcade? They had an arcade, and I grew up in Londonderry till I was 10 or 11. Then we moved to Hollow Kenyon, so Londonderry was still close. And then, Maddie, I don't know if you remember Bullwinkles.
Of course, I remember Bullwinkles. It is now Part Source.
Bullwinkles. It is Part Source, and every time I go there to pick up parts or anything, I'm just like, oh, this is the entrance. This is where that weird guy in the cage was. This is where the animatronics were. This is where you would pan for coins to play in the arcade. And I had my, I think, 6th birthday at Bullwinkles, and it was still one of the most memorable birthdays of my life.
I miss Bullwinkles more. Like, Chuck E. Cheese is not Bullwinkles. It doesn't replace Bullwinkles. Not at all. And that's where I drive by. They're like, hey, it's right by Centric Casino. So I've gone a couple times to go visit Eric there. We had our party there once. I drove by. I was like, well, I just think of, no offense, Part Source. That's not your home. Get out. Give me back.
I think Part Source has been there longer than Bullwinkles ever was.
Don't care. Get out. Bring me back Bullwinkles. That's all I want. If I ever win the lottery, I'm buying that place and I'm putting in Bullwinkles. If I have Daryl Cates type money one day or something, I'm doing that. Yeah. Straight up. Huntoria Mom's bringing up Fuddruckers. Do you ever remember Fuddruckers?
I do remember Fuddruckers. And I have a funny story really quickly about Fuddruckers because we have some time.
Oh, yeah.
My old boss, Mark Ciampa, when I was at Oilers TV, he's now VP of digital and all that in New Jersey. He oversees like the 76ers as well. Like, Ciampa's a brilliant guy, but he loved fast food and he loved Fuddruckers. And I remember when we drove down to Oklahoma City to cover the Barons during the lockout in 2012, we went through Saskatoon or Regina, and we had to stop at Fuddruckers. And then we went down, and then while we were in OKC, we hopped on the road with the Barons through Texas. So there was Austin, where the Texas Stars play. At the time, San Antonio had a team, as well as Houston. And when we got to San Antonio, the first thing Ciampa said to me was, "We're having lunch at Fuddruckers." And I was like, "You've got to be Fuddrucking kidding me." And it was.
Okay, did you say that, or did you actually say the swear?
I said the swear.
Okay.
But I was just like, fine, whatever, you're the boss. And then the guys who came with us to Fuddruckers, when they found out we were going to Fuddruckers, were Jim Byers, the play-by-play guy.
Oh, I love Jim.
Jim used to, he talks about calling Trappers games at Remax Field, Old Telus Field.
We had him call, we carried the Barons playoff one year on 1260.
Great broadcaster. Great. I was doing color commentary for him on the road those games. So much fun, just a pro's pro. And then the other guy that came with us to Fuddruckers, because he found out we were going there, Todd Nelson.
Really?
Yeah. And then the next, because you would do 2 or 3 days in each city, and they play back-to-back nights or whatever. And we had a couple days in San Antonio, and he's like, "Hey, you guys going back to Fuddruckers for pregame?" We're like, "Yeah." He's like, I might come with you again. I was like, okay, Nelly, do whatever you want, buddy. But yeah, Fuddruckers.
There's a Fuddruckers in Saskatoon. That's
the one we went
I
to.
did the 1 pound burger. I made the mistake. I put too many jalapenos on it because I filled up the burger. Was it when we went to go play mini putt after? I was feeling a little sick. We also then went into the batting cages when it was raining, and the guy's like, "No, you shouldn't go in." I'm like, "Oh, we'll be fine." He's like, "No, you probably shouldn't." We're like, "No, we'll go." And then Raimai, Whale and the Wolf lead singer, house band of Edmonton Sports Talk, he got beamed by a baseball in the thing when we weren't supposed to go in there. So that's my quick Fuddrucker story. Oilers taking on the Kraken tonight. You could head to coolbet.com right now if you're looking to bet the Edmonton Oilers or anything that's going on in the sports. We got an Edmonton Sports Talk parlay right now at a nice plus 12.15. Draisaitl 1 goal. Connor McDavid 2+ points. The game being under 6.5 goals. Dusty wanted the under tonight. And the Edmonton Oilers to win. It was almost the same parlay we had on Monday against the Islanders, but we had the over 5.5 goals, and that was the thing that stopped us from getting the win. So Dusty going with the under. It's plus 12.15. For those that don't understand gambling, basically, if you put $1 down and all of those things hit, you walk away with $12.15 extra. So you're going to have, if you bet $1, your account will go in afterwards with $13.15. Just head to coolbet.com, click on the exclusives, and that's how you can get in touch with or bet on the Edmonton Sports Talk parlay. Those Edmonton Sports Talk parlays, they're exclusively on Coolbet. Let's jump into the Nasty Chat, 780-218-9999. I like this because I love the idea that he did this, but Jelly saying, thoughts on Paul Coffey wearing his cup ring on the bench. Is that gangster or is that douchey? I love it. I love that, I've done this. This is, I know what I'm talking about. There's a story with Pat Riley. One of the ways he got LeBron James to sign with the Miami Heat was they walked into the conference room or whatever, and Pat Riley had all his rings sitting on the table. I have no problem with that. What do you think?
I noticed it, and those rings back then compared to what they are now, which basically take up your whole finger. Basically, they're huge. It was very noticeable. I think obviously deliberate, and first game behind the bench, you knew cameras would be on him. I think it kind of sends a subtle message to the group. I don't know if he's going to do it all the time. Getting to know Paul Coffey, and listen, I don't know him super well, but enough that we talk when we see each other in the press level or when he was there or just in the hallways of the arena. He does have some panache to him. There is a strut there, and you're like, oh yeah, this guy was one of the best defensemen of all time. I know offensive, don't get me wrong. Charlie Huddy was great. He needed Charlie Huddy and all that stuff, but he has that kind of, I don't want to say swagger, but panache, and that's part of Paul Coffey being Paul Coffey. So it was noticeable. I didn't mind it. And I wonder if he's going to continue to do it. I feel like that was maybe a one-off. We'll see tonight if he still has it and if he continues on with it, but deliberate, kind of just I've done it. And it's not as obnoxious as the rings nowadays. I'm sure he'd like one of those big new rings. And now he has a chance working behind the bench to get one of those big new nice rings that we're seeing on sports teams now.
I look at it as this is the goal. This is what
Sure.
It's cup or bust, you guys. Well, the cup, this is what you get. It's time to turn it around if you want one of these. I also I don't think you can do it every game unless you're known for wearing it all the time. If Paul Coffey,
I don't think he does.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think a lot of those people ever do. I don't think anyone really wears the rings all the time. But unless you are actually known for some reason as someone who, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, you put that ring on and you walk around with that ring on. I don't think you could wear it every single game because then I think it does eventually turn from, as Jelly had it, it goes from gangster to douchey a little bit. I'll agree if you've done that every single game, I could see how it could turn into that. But for game one, and look, you could say, you could be told all the stories that you want. You could see his name in the rafters. He could point up there. But I think that also sends a message to a lot of players that would have never seen him play, Wouldn't even have come close. I don't think I ever saw Paul Coffey play hockey. For him to be able to sit there and go, yeah, look, like, I've done this. You want to get to the top of the mountain? I've been there. So trust me when I say this is what I want to do, or go do this, or whatever it might be. It's coming from a place of someone who's been able to accomplish this at some point in his career. So
yeah, I asked Cody Ceci about that. I did a one-on-one with Cody Ceci yesterday, which was a Nasty Club exclusive.
Yes, that is up for anyone who is part of the Nasty Club. And we do have the post-show available. We have all those goal songs, but every so often we'll throw some other things up there. And you have a one-on-one with Cody Ceci that's in the Nasty Club. So anyone that is a Nasty Club subscriber of the annual membership, no, that's for anyone, I guess. I think the monthlies would get it too.
Good.
Any Nasty Club member, yeah, you can go in and listen to that. Sorry to interrupt there.
Yeah, no, all good. I also have I think we put the Doug Waite one-on-one.
Doug Waite and Charlie Huddy. Yep.
One-on-one. Yeah.
Those are up there too.
So, part of the Nasty Club, all that good stuff. But yeah, Cody Ceci, I asked him about that, and that meme that popped up with Paul Coffey talking to him in his face. And I was like, what'd you think of that? He's like, I thought it was pretty funny. And I asked him what he was talking about to him, and he goes, he's just telling me some strategy stuff. But he said it was kind of neat having Paul Coffey back there. And listen, I don't think with listening to Paul Coffey and his kind of reluctance in that press conference saying, I didn't really, see myself as a coach, and I'll do whatever I can to help this team. I love this team. Yes, my job was special advisor. Like, he acknowledges that. So I think there's a sincerity to how he's approaching this. And I don't think he wants to be the intimidator, but I think he understands that he does carry that potential presence with him. And if he's able to massage and use it properly, it can be done right, and it can have a positive impact. And, listening to Cody Ceci yesterday and just kind of, as he was saying the right things, obviously, but you kind of pick up on the tone and demeanor of guys when you're asking about things like that. And it seemed like he genuinely was like, yeah, I actually listening to Paul Coffey was good. He's done it. He's climbed the mountain. He's got a lot of valid advice. Like, how do I not listen to him? And he was pretty good on the bench. He was calm. He was cool. He was just pointing out some things. So again, very small sample size. Yep. These guys came in under tough circumstances in a very short period of time. But, a theme that we're starting to get more of in, 3 days now of the new coaching regime is communication. Chris Knobloch talked about communication. They moved the defense all to sit together on the one side of the locker room because of communication. Cody Ceci talked about Paul Coffey communicating with him. So let's see if that has a positive impact. I'm sure it will if the team receives it well and the way it's presented to them is proper. It could be a good thing. And I don't know. Like, I'm not saying that the communication that Jay Woodcroft and Dave Manson had with their group was bad. It was probably different the way they communicated. And let's see if the way and style that Coffey and Knobloch have with this group unlocks, some untapped potential or things that the group had done in the past and had implemented into the game and they'd forgotten about, like hard work and determination. Let's see if that message gets across and it opens them up to playing a little bit tougher and a little bit harder and then getting the results.
K Gill 97, Tommy, Matt, my hot take, Broberg will break out with Knobloch and Coffey as coaches. Connor Flipchuck saying small sample size, but Bush looked better with Coffey on bench. One-off or a real change? Or is it just too early when it comes to
too
Bouchard?
Early. Too early. I hope it's a real change. I genuinely, sincerely hope it gets Evan Bouchard to being Evan Bouchard from the stretch in the playoffs last year. Also of note, speaking of defensemen and Evan Bouchard, Duncan Keith was in the room today.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he was kicking around in the locker room today. So interesting. Of note, I thought I'd point that out. As soon as you said Bouchard, I was like, oh yeah, Duncan Keith was there today. So, yeah, I think it's too early. I want to say it'll have a positive long-term effect. I really hope so for the sake of the fan base and the team and, general good vibes around the city. but I can't say for sure. And I'm sure that there's going to be peaks and valleys. Certainly, there's going to be rough spots because there's 68 games left or whatever it is. So let's see how it goes. Let's give it a week or two here.
Quick reminder to everyone listening, whether it's on our website, whether it's on TuneIn, for those watching on YouTube. Today is the final day for the Edmonton Sports Talk pop-up merch store. We've got shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts, toques, mugs, hats, and some youth shirts for toddlers and young kids as well. EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Go to the very top. It says EST Shop. You go there to purchase. Today's the final day. Once that pop-up store closes tonight, the next chance to purchase merch is really going to be, we'll do stuff in the new year, I guess. But yeah, anyone that wants to get something right away or for Christmas, this is it. This is your final few hours to do that. We should have everything ready to, I think, pretty much almost get set to ship out by or before December 15th. So if you're in the Edmonton area especially, you should have everything prior to Christmas. That's kind of how we tried planning things out with our partners at the Hive Product Marketing, products that bring the buzz, the hiveproductmarketing.com. So yes, final time. We've been getting quite a few orders today, but last chance to get into the Edmonton Sports Talk pop-up shop. It is today. Go to edmontonsportstalk.com to get in on that.
Maddie,
yes.
I thank you for putting in my order.
Yes.
I appreciate that. I waited way too long.
Well, this is everyone, you, Eric, and Dusty all did it yesterday, so you guys are all yeah.
I got the black toque.
Yep.
I got the charcoal champions
sweatshirt,
no hood, because I already have the hoodie that we have, and I already have the hat. The hat's great, by the way. And then I also bought 5 coffee mugs.
I'm getting the first champion sweatshirt because
that one looks awesome. And I want it. That's why I got it.
I ordered all the Nasty Club stuff already. So that stuff's going to come in first. And I put my order in with that one because I was on top of things. And so there was one champion sweatshirt coming, and we'll see how it all looks. And I can't wait to get that one. That one I'm excited to wear.
I was thinking about this for when we bring the pop-up back. You said maybe in the new year.
Well, we'll do some stuff, and then you're like, I have purchased extra merch for us that we have to figure out what we're going to do with. So,
that's smart. It's good giveaways, prizes, whatever. Also, because by January we'll be starting to look ahead to the spring. Maybe like a nice jacket. Does Chelsea have some jackets that we can look at?
They have a bunch of things, like everything. The only thing they didn't have, except she said maybe she'd have to look further, was tearaway pants. We took a look for that one. Because
what year is this?
I don't know why. I don't know how we got into it. Dusty and Erica one morning were like, hey, maybe there's tearaway pants. And I was going for a meeting with her that day. So I asked her, I was like, hey, do you have any? And she quickly looked. She's like, actually, I don't. She had sweatpants. Like, we could get all sorts, but we didn't have the tearaways. She said she could look further and see, but I was like, well, that's fine. But no, when it comes to the jackets and all of that, yeah, I'll talk to Charles. We'll get stuff like that maybe. And we will have a golf tournament next year. I'll get some stuff for the golf tournament through her and stuff. So if anyone's looking for any sort of promotional products, like they have all sorts of things. They actually have a catalog on their website you could go to and take a look, and that's like a good base of what they have. And there's a lot of stuff there. But then Chelsea can do a lot more if you need stuff. So connect with Chelsea if you're going to the Hive Product Marketing. She'll take really good care of you, like she takes really good care of us here at Edmonton Sports Talk. Just wanted to get to one more question before we wrap up here right away. David Gibbons going, legit question, do we take anything of value from these comments from players like calm communication, or are they just sound bites? This early on especially, do you take these things for face value with what they're saying? Do you believe it, or is this just stuff that they have to say? Or is it kind of a mixture of both?
No. Great question, because there is a noticeable difference in the tone that Chris Knobloch puts out. He is very calm. He takes time to process things. It's almost like when he is, answering our questions, he's thinking about it at the same time, even though, he does or has formulated his answer. And even listening to Ryan Nugent-Hopkins today, he pointed out the calmness. I think it's sincere and I think it's legitimate, and it's just a different style of communication. And I do think right now it is very much a thing. And even I think it was Daniel Nugent-Bowman asked, or maybe it was Matheson, Jim might have asked about how Chris Knobloch communicates, and he talked about like it's a two-way street, mutual respect. Yes, I'm going to be calm, cool, and collected with these guys, and I want them to be comfortable talking to me, and I recognize when they do good things, and we can have that healthy line of communication. I think that's sincere, and I think that's where he's a little bit different than what Jay Woodcroft maybe was. And again, I'm not knocking Jay Woodcroft's style of communicating because he's very direct, thorough, would listen to you. But this is just a different way of doing it. And I think, the guys talking about it and how they describe it is honest. And that is what they've experienced so far. And we've noticed it in our dealings with Chris Knobloch, albeit just for a couple of days. And then, clearly the players have too. Even on the ice, you can tell. On the ice, he's very calm. There's not a lot of yelling. It's quick to the whiteboard. He describes and explains things. And then you can kind of go see him and he'll talk to guys really quickly. It's a very composed style, whereas Woodcroft especially would be yelling and saying, I need this, I need that. Hey, why are we doing this? This is what we're doing. Okay, your line, you're up next. Not really the style of Knobloch to this point. But again, how much of it is it he's just getting used to this group and trying to get a feel for things? Will he start to yell at them if they frustrate him? We shall see. Time will tell.
That will be it for this Wednesday edition of the Oil Stream. The Oil Stream, though, is back in a few hours, but it's the Oil Stream pregame edition. Tom Gazzola will get you set alongside YouTube. Trev, is Cass on with you today?
Yep.
And Matt Cassian, that is 5 o'clock right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. They'll get you set for the game, which gets going just after 6:30, and then you're back with the post-game show as well. Kraken, Oilers coming up. We'll see if the Oilers can make it 3 in a row before a big 4-game road trip out east. I'm Matt Iwanyk, he's Tom Gazzola, and Tommy, it's the tradition of the Oil Stream. I'll let you have the final word.
Like, share, subscribe, smash that thumbs up button. We're picking up momentum towards 6,000 subscribers. To everybody who listened via TuneIn, thank you, or our audio stream, we appreciate it. As always, a pleasure, and we'll talk to you tonight. Ciao for now.